Aquarius, welcome to your weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is for November 28th through the 4th of December 2016. I'm Athen, and this channel is about using the actual constellations in the sky, known as Sidereal Astrology. If you are new, be sure to check out the link down below because the signs are different, which means your sign might be different, and you'll want to watch this for the right sign. All right, so Aquarius, this week things are kicking off with a new moon, and this is going to be in your 10th house of productive life. In fact, this has already been a big emphasis this year. You've had Saturn, your ruler, in the 10th, helping you hopefully take seriously some of this productive stuff, long-term, sometimes career stuff, really long-term productive things in your life. And so now the new moon is signifying that it's a short-term and long-term sort of new beginning with this. Some seeds are being planted. And I think that's a great way of working with the beginning of the week. Set some new intentions for yourself. See what is coming up. And plant a bunch of seeds, see which things in your life do take root. Especially as we go into next week, I think you'll find a lot of these new beginnings starting to cultivate and then manifesting both in the next 2 weeks during the full moon and then also in the next 6 months as well. So very nice there. New moon in the 10th, and right around that same time, Mercury will be going into your 11th house. And so this is a shift where I think your mind will probably go more towards the value you derive from your career or your productive life. That's a very good way of working with it. Maybe it's the income through your career. You could be thinking about that, and it's great to work with that practically, get into the systematic approach of understanding it, making a plan or something like that. But if it's not financial, it could just simply be the value, the enjoyment of your work. And sometimes with the 11th house, it's very much about giving and being a part of something larger than yourself. So some things to think about with that. Also, Mercury does rule your 5th, so you can find that maybe you're expressing yourself more within groups, maybe within your networks and community, with your friends perhaps. Things are getting maybe deeper and real with those groups as well, which is certainly possible. And just all in all, thinking about the future possibilities of things. In fact, you've already had Venus in the 11th, so you can be enjoying, I think, not only these personal aspirations of yours and cultivating them, and maybe even last week you made some transformations and changes with that. But anyways, Venus in the 11th, you can be enjoying your friends, network circles, things like that. Now, I do want to mention that Venus will be squaring up to Uranus. So here around Tuesday and Wednesday, this first half of the week, around the new moon, take a sort of a centered approach to matters, because collectively with this square, this can be a sort of impulse, a rashness, wanting to break free, wanting to break through, or something like that. It might have to do with your values, might have to do with the financial material stuff, but do take it nice and slow. The squares are always better to be centered with them versus reacting to the impulse that Uranus can sometimes bring. You may notice too, it might have to do with home, family, or health matters. It's quite possible, as well as anything involving your future possibilities. Okay, so if you wanted to break free with those or about those aspirations or whatever, do keep a cool head and, again, centeredness. Now listen to that freedom though. There is something here. Uranus is showing you the importance of having freedom with your values and with your resources, inner and outer resources, your sense of self-reliance, and also too, your finances. So listen to that freedom. Just be sure to implement things nice and slow with that extra balanced approach to those key areas. And I think you'll find it quite healing. In fact, Venus does sextile up to Chiron at that same time. And then as we get into Thursday, Chiron goes direct. So I think there is a shift with all of this, your self-reliance moving forward, feeling healed and rejuvenated as a result, or maybe your sense of self-worth, or maybe some of you just your external environment, such as your finances or your resources, feeling healed about those. So it will take time for Chiron to move forward, but there is a shift. And do know that, yes, things are positively moving in that direction to where you're healing any wounds, any insecurities about those inner and outer resources there. Now, around that same time, there's certainly a shift from the first half to the second half of the week. As you can see here, the first half, still new moon, still subtler, lower energy. There's a lot of these squares and stuff I was talking about working with the internal impulses and things like that. But as we get into the second half, this is much more in the external about manifestation and creation. This is Jupiter and Saturn. We've got Mars trining up to Jupiter and sextiling up to your ruler Saturn going into the weekend, which is a very nice combination. First of all, with the trine up to Jupiter, this is where we can all be feeling a bit motivated and driven, okay, and inspired. Now, for you, it may have to do more behind the scenes because Mars is in your 12th house. So if you've been noticing lately, that's been very good for you to, find a flow to life, maybe get some alone time, maybe get some R&R, and that can recharge you. Or maybe you're just getting things done in a bit more of a receptive way. And any motivations you do have, such as getting in touch with yourself spiritually, such as your alone time and working behind the scenes, can be a very good motivating factor. So that's all positively supporting that. So it does make it a great second half for all these more behind the scenes things. But Mars does also rule that 10th house. So it could be some opportunities, maybe some inspiration about the career, about the productive life, which could be very supportive. It's a Jupiter in the 8th, which does emphasize that right now is such a great time to be getting into the deeper side of life of what really matters most to you and cultivating what really matters most, and maybe even relying on others a bit, which is the 8th house as well. But whatever that is, very supportive. Mars also rules the 3rd, so you could be feeling your mind is quite inspired, you're seeing potentials, and communication could flow as well. So that's the trine there. And then, of course, Mars sextiling your ruler Saturn, again, putting positive energy into the productive career sector, your public life as well. All right, Aquarius, so the way I would sum up this week is definitely a new moon in the 10th house of your productive life. Planting seeds there is great this week. Mercury does shift into the 11th, placing more emphasis on friends, groups, or your future aspirations, or maybe even the value you derive from your career could be unfolding to a degree. Mars in the 12th house is a reminder that, yes, it's a receptive time. It's about getting things done without pushing forward too much. About finding the flow, finding the current. And surprisingly, yes, you can get a lot done as a result. Pursue those personal needs, which is what Mars is all about. But it's through receptivity, it's through unconditionality, it's through presence, and that which you might consider a meditative approach. And that trine from Jupiter, very inspiring for all that, but also career and the intellectual and communicative stuff as well. All right, so Aquarius, have a fantastic week. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.